best coach I ever had was my dad. And, like we grew up in a very, very small town. Like the town itself is, I think, 830 and some change. Like I think there's more cows than people, like swear to God. So Southern Virginia, very rural, like, you grow up and you work on farms and you work on like random little things. It's very blue collar, like right on the border between Virginia and North Carolina, a little county called Charlotte County. And, so like when your dad's the head football coach and like you're decent at football and he's demanding everything out of you, he's grinding you really hard. And so you get that, at home, on the field, in the classroom. But now as I look back, I'm like, dude, that was exactly what I needed as a kid. Like I could have gone 1,000 different directions as a youth. And, I'm glad I had my head football coach, beat my ass at home, you know what I mean? If you will, like, so it was awesome. Like he was a hell of an educator, literally 30 years in education and, was a phenomenal leader of men. And, it was awesome. So I get it. Like you see a lot of traits in really good coaches and really good dads. And, I was lucky to have one in both. So, yeah.
Anybody that's listening now, you're coming up on us just talking about, being a dad, and there's so many different ways that we can take what you just said. One of the things that kind of hit me the most was just that the duality where people think like, oh, you have to be all here. It's like you can, as long as your head or where your feet is at, you can do both really, really good. And that's what I want our listeners to hear. And I mean, if like Connor came with the same recommendation from Costa, that like you're an amazing dad and a husband, and I want coaches to hear this, whether you're significant other, you're a husband, you're a wife, whatever you are, like you can be a good coach. We had Kenna Smoke Manisi on the show talking about it too. She's like, there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life integration. That's how it works.
Yeah. And I actually listened to her before coming on and 100% agreed. Like I like what she was talking about with almost like periodizing your life, like you have your high intensity, in the season approach versus, when you're at home and you have those breaks and you do get to be a mom or a dad and slow down a lot more. But yeah, you can't turn it on and off. Like you have so many people, I think, relying on you, family and at work, I think in trying to find that balance of what makes, you happy as a coach, but also you happy as a father or mother. And it's a tough balance, but once you figure it out, I think you do understand how to balance both, and it can become, mutually valuable for everybody involved.
Now, for you, anybody listening, you working in tactical strength and conditioning now, and Costa has said amazing things about the reason that there's the different locations built. Like, I want to hear it from you. Like, what's your background, the tactical stuff, the new location you're at, or the new headquarters in your own words, because I'm diving down this tactical rabbit hole and it's super interesting.
Man, so this is going to be a long one. So
go ahead.
Take a sip of my coffee first.
Go ahead. Listen, hey, I'll fill the gap right here. Everybody else, I got my coffee right here. Sit back and enjoy. Appreciate
it. So, I dove headfirst into collegiate strength conditioning when I was 23. So I had, right before that, been working in sales for like 4 months, and I was a coach's kid, obviously, played multiple sports in high school. And, everybody kept saying, you're going to be a heck of a coach when you grow up, and you're destined to be a coach. It's going to happen. And I think just being 17 or 18 at the time, I was like, man, like, I'm not going to be a coach. I'm going to go do something else in my life. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, what do you mean I'm going to follow my dad's footsteps? It's dumb. Like, who does that? And so, I fought it for so long, went into sales with one of my best friends in Richmond, Virginia. And like, 4 or 5 months in, we're looking at each other like, dude, this sucks. Like, no knock to people in sales, man. Like, I just don't like quarter cubicles and like the same thing every day. And so I just quit like in May of, I guess it'd been 2015. And knew after that, I was like, all right, I need to get back to what I was doing. Cause I'd coached some in high school. Like I was an assistant strength coach and coached football at my alma mater, for 2 years while I was in undergrad. And so like, I liked it. It was fun. But I was like, I don't think I can make a living out of this. So knowing my passion and knowing what I truly love, I was like, all right, I need to get back to that. Like I'm done, crunching numbers and paper. So I, ended up just quitting. And that summer, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and what the transition looked like. And I ended up applying for multiple GA positions. Ended up luckily finding one at the University of Charleston, West Virginia, small Division II school in the Mountain East Conference. And, I was assuming, well, GA, I'm going to be pushing papers and I might learn from some mentors. And I'm pretty sure I'm just going to work, do a lot of laundry, and, whatever they say, it's yes, sir. And, cool. So I show up. And day one, meet the head coach out on the field, and he and I have obviously talked a bunch during the interview process. And like day one, he's like, "All right, hey, you got that group over there. You're going to be running, these specific speed drills. Like, go." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." So from there, that night, he sits me down and says, "Look, you're in charge of the whole program. Whatever you want to do, you got it." The guy that was before here, he wasn't much of a strength coach. He was just a great assistant football coach that was kind of thrusted in that position to be a strength coach. So he had no choice but to do it. And me wanting to be a strength coach, like, hey, this is awesome. I get to create my own program and be the head football strength and conditioning coach at 23. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm terrified because you want to be good, but you don't know if you are. Like, you have no clue because very few mentors at that point in time. So yeah, started at Charleston. Was able to move up to become full time. Built a program that I think leaving was incredibly proud of in 5 years. Was able to break 12 records and had some absolute freak shows. Like shout out to John Kaminsky was one. Like, he was a guy that came in. He was like 220 pounds, left at 287, ran a hand time 4.6 for the Lions and Eagles. Like, he was in like a tight end from Barberton, Barbersville, Ohio, and just came in and grew. And I always asked him, like, hey, how'd you get so big, bud? Like, you were 220, you put on 60 some pounds. He was like, double chicken Chipotle, baby. Like, that's it. Like, yeah, 2 of those a day and you're good. But yeah, like you had guys like that at the Division II level that should probably be Division I, aren't Division I, and so you had some freak shows for sure. So learned a lot just developing that program, and then left there in COVID. So COVID hit. They told us that winter, that February, I think March, hey, we're shutting the school down. We're going to be pushing all you guys into other avenues. And so luckily they said, we're going to keep you until we know you're not going to have a season in the fall. So very lucky. Like, there was a lot of people I knew that lost a ton of jobs at that point, especially in sport. Like, it was a very difficult time. And so, funny enough, they said, well, you're going to go to admissions. And so I went back to a quarter cubicle, and like, so instead of recruiting, cause I was also an assistant football coach there, I coached safeties. So instead of recruiting for football, I was recruiting for the school.
Yeah.
So again, I was like, all right, this isn't it. Like, I don't want to wait around for my fate to be sealed. Like, I want to have some type of control in what happens next. And so I left there and took a job at Hanover High School in Richmond, Virginia. Went back to Richmond for a bit. Sam Rogers was the head coach there, and was in camp with them for like 2 months, maybe even a 1 month stint, and was going to be a biology teacher. I was going to go back to what I knew, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do biology. I'm going to teach. I'm going to coach. It's going to be a smooth transition. And then I kept talking to Costa actually, and he was like, hey, like, this is an awesome opportunity. This is a phenomenal industry. This tactical strength conditioning thing is picking up speed. Come over to the site and let me show you. And so, I go over to Langley, hang out with him for a day, and I'm just in awe of how the operation works. The men and women that you see walk through the door, hearing their passion and their why, and knowing that you are genuinely supporting some of the best people in the world, and they are fighting for, some of the best purposes in the world, was incredible. And so I just got hooked right then, I think, and immediately said, this is exactly what I want to do in some form or fashion. And so I met with him every week. I was like, look, I'll buy you lunch every week. I just want to talk to you, man. So like I did. I bought him lunch every week. So then finally a job opens up with O2X, who I'm with now. And they called Costa first. And then Costa gave them my name as a referral, and then it went fast. It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks. They said, hey, do you want to be, the guy that builds a program for DC Fire. And I was like, I don't know anything about fire. I don't know anything about tactical strength conditioning, but why not? Like, might as well. I'll move right now. So, picked up, moved, lived in the Airbnb for 2 weeks, lived with some family, friends, I guess, for about a week, like just trying to navigate the area in DC. And, day one with Washington DC Fire and EMS, like I got to meet a lot of the chiefs, and they didn't know who I was either. O2X had done a phenomenal job to that point of running a lot of workshops, and that's one thing I think we do phenomenal still to this day is a lot of these educational workshops where O2X will go in and teach the proper way to fuel like an athlete, opposed to just eating brats and tots every day in the firehouse. Or why does it matter to train like an athlete as well, opposed to just getting smoked every day, and in every facet through training from there. But they had never seen a full-time employee on site and didn't have any defined roles or responsibilities when I got there. So they started asking me, well, what can I do? I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to fit into this thing. And what's called the on-site specialist program for O2X was very new. There was only like 4 of us at the time. And so, we're all trying to figure it out ourselves. DC Fire is like, we don't, what do you want to do? Like, so there was a lot of adjustment and learning as we went. But the first thing I told him, I was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll be here as early as you want me to be, and I know I'll work. So, like, we'll figure it out together. And so, I had the ability to kind of start PT early. So they didn't have structured physical training at that time. And it was just the instructors running their physical training. So the instructors also wanted to kind of rid their hands of this physical training that they also weren't super confident in doing and comfortable doing. They would rather be teaching skill drills and what it actually means to be in operations and to do the job on the fire ground. So I think it was a breath of fresh air when I joined as well. And they're like, all right, cool. We have a guy that does, I think I've been a personal trainer, an athletic trainer, a strength coach. Like, everybody thinks it's the same thing, but yeah, so I was able to start with one group. And then it kind of grew, now we've had 14 recruit classes graduate. Like, the majority of them have been injury free. Like, it's been phenomenal. Like that first start, I think was like just such a good foot in the door of tactical in general. And that whole community, man, like the first few months, I learned so much about fire, and still to this day learn. Like, I was talking to one of my teammates, Josh Davis, who's one of our new strength coaches, Welsh, phenomenal guy, stud. He and I just kept talking about how much we learn every day. And he's been on the job for 3 months, and I've been on the job for almost 4 years. And it's just every single firehouse is different. Every single thing you talk about is different. Even the lingo, like, I'm sure you can attest to this, just all the different environments that you've been in. You walk into a place and, they might call this one thing and you don't. For fire, when you go into the fire service as a strength coach, especially if you didn't grow up around it, you don't know how to talk to these guys because all they want to talk about is the job. And a tough lesson I learned quickly is you have to know the lingo. So in our weight room, it's not a lot of space. And when we first got there, there was very little equipment as well. And so we've had to do a lot to change it. And I might talk about that later on, just how we created the weight room. But the apparatus bay, which is where the fire engines are always housed in some of the ambulances, is a long, flat space. And so we could use that for a lot of our accessories. We could do sled pulls. We could do carries and things indoors in this apparatus bay. So I knew I needed the bay, and I didn't know how to get these, what I thought were fire trucks, out. And so I go over to one of the officers the week one. I was like, hey man, do you mind, moving those fire trucks out? He's like, oh yeah, I got you. 20 minutes later, nothing happens. I'm like, well, he said he was going to move the fire. Like, I don't understand. Like, why aren't the fire trucks out? So then, like, the next day I go up and ask him the same thing, but hey man, do you mind moving the fire trucks out of the apparatus bay? He's like, yeah, I got you. Same thing, doesn't happen. Go to another guy. I said, hey, why didn't like this officer move the fire trucks out of the apparatus bay? He's like, dude, there's no trucks in the bay. They're all engines. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to know that, man? And I swear to God, the guy would have done that every single day if he could have, just to teach me a lesson of, you better learn what this thing is called if you're going to ask me to do something, right? So I think, like, every lesson I've learned in the fire service has been a joke. It has been a witty shot. It has been dark humor, and you got to be able to roll with that. Like that is hands down. If you want to get into tactical, you better be quick on your feet. You better be quick witted, and you better be okay with some dark humor because man, it's everywhere and it's awesome. Like if you like that sort of thing, it's awesome, man. It's so fun, but yeah, they pick on you because they like you, and you don't know that early. And it took me 6 months to like really, really feel like I was part of that community. But man, it has truly been the best community I've ever worked in my entire life. Some of the best men that I've ever been around work in DC Fire and EMS, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And that's truly what makes me passionate about doing the job. Is like, you build relationships with these men and women. You get to know them, they get to know you, and like that makes you want to work harder to create roots in the ground with different facets of a program that extend not only at our training academy but across the department. We have 33 houses across the city that we have to facilitate and help, 2,200 members in operations and in civilian. And at our academy, which is where our headquarters is now, right now I think we have 130 or 140 recruits we train 4 times a week. And that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, because recovery is real. So give those guys a day off, quit smoking them. And, so it's been a lot of fun, but, the development piece of the academy itself took a long time because, like I said, we didn't have much equipment. So we were using hard sleeves, which is kind of like what you can cover up or connect, up to a fire engine with. We were using 50-foot sections of standpipe racks, hose line, 50-foot sections of hose line, different things to use to carry. I mean, it was like GPP and work capacity to the death. Like, because that was it. That's all we had. And so, we were using isometrics and eccentrics in the very beginning just to get any kind of progression out of it because we had nothing else to use. Like there wasn't any weights. We didn't have barbells. We didn't have like your typical conventional things to use. And so, you have to think outside the box and be really creative with what variables you change to actually create some adaptation. And for us, it was a lot of time under tension. We didn't want to run a lot because our recruits run everywhere they go anyway. And so if they're averaging 5 to 6 miles on their feet already just by running everywhere they go, then why are we going to run 5 miles on Friday? Like,
Because it's 5 Mile Friday.
Because it's 5 Mile Friday.
You need CEUs to remain certified. At Strength Coach Network, both of our long-form education courses, Fundamentals 1 and Fundamentals 2, both have 2.0 CEUs to the NSCA in Category C. When you complete the learning and you complete the learning check, you will earn your 2.0 CEUs. That is 33% of the CEUs you need in a 3-year reporting period. Click the link down below to learn more about both courses. Are you expanding and need more equipment inside your current room? Or are you building a new weight room and you need to get some equipment? You need to look no further than Powerlift. I had Powerlift equipment when I was at Harvard, Iowa, and at the University of Maryland. I'm currently utilizing their stuff right now. I'm telling you, Powerlift strong, Powerlift made here in America, here in the great state of Iowa, made, manufactured. You have the ability for customization, whether it's on the bench, whether it's on the upholstery, whether it's on the bumpers, across the rack. There are countless options, making sure it's designed to your specific brand. It's Powerlift made, it's Powerlift strong, it's not cheap like all the other competitors, and the people inside of Powerlift are people that you want to be with. Check them out in the link down below. If you're looking to train your athletes in person or remote, you need to make sure that you're utilizing TeamBuildr. I have had TeamBuildr since 2019 and still utilize it with my remote athletes. This makes everything simple, from the ability to program, have videos right there, wellness questionnaires. Loved being able to have it in person at the rack at Towson and being able to have it in person now at Goldfinch. This has made my life easier as a coach. If you're still printing on paper, I don't know what you're doing. If you have a different software company, again, I don't know what you're doing. Check out TeamBuildr down in the link below.
So, they always say that, the fire service hates there's 2 things that they hate. It's the way things are and change. So, it's kind of tough to deal with, but yeah, the academy has become our stronghold because of recruit training. That is our top priority. And then, our return to work rehabilitation program, which is really, I think, what has become like the monumental cornerstone of what I think tactical strength and conditioning needs to become.
hearing you before we dive into that part, but hearing you say that they hate the way they are and they hate change, that hit home to me because a buddy of mine, Ryan Martin, just left being the head strength coach at Drake here in Iowa and actually became a firefighter himself. And they asked him to start rewriting things, and he's like, yeah, man, like they want me to, but the minute I start kind of pushing and telling them, like, and I've gone through it, he's like, they're so reluctant to change. He's like, but I think because I actually am a firefighter and I was a strength coach for 20 years, he's like, I have a chance to actually make some positive change.
Yeah, I was very lucky when I first got on because they said, look, you got them, like figure it out. And you know,
Okay.
there's a lot of my my coworkers, other guys that work at O2X, who have not had that. You know, they really have to work with the peer fitness trainers and a lot of the other parts of the team to figure out what they're going to do for PT, or you know, some of them are just almost advisors over top of the peer fitness trainers who pretty much just run their own program and kind of have to watch from the sideline and figure out ways to, you know, interject if they can to create any kind of change at all. So yeah, I mean it's tough, and I think that's how most of tactical is like you get in and you don't have the ability to just write your own stuff. It's a lot of, you know, trying to here and there interject and put in pieces and bits of what you've known versus taking over an entire program, because they have ownership. A lot of places have so much ownership because, you know, if roles reversed, if somebody right now came into my program or our program
Mm-hmm.
and started going, all right, this is how we're going to do things, I would immediately be like, no, we're not. Like, I would also feel a lot of that resentment, I guess, and you know, that rocky start to that partnership. So I get it, and that's why I think stepping lightly when you first get in and solely trying to do a great job of learning the environment, learn the lingo, and just find value where you can actually add it, opposed to trying to force value, I think is a much better way to approach it.
That's actually something that Costa said on his episode. He's like, your first couple months, he's like, just shut up. And he's like, after about 3 months, then you can raise your hand when they ask a question and you can have an opinion.
Yep.
He's like, but until then, you just got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned that going to all these houses across the city. Like, you know, I wanted to be this, you know, knight in shining armor. Hey, I'm here to develop this program that's going to be phenomenal, holistic approach to health and wellness. Like, let's do it. And, you know, I had guys the first few months, like, kick their feet up, still watching their phone. You know, I had a couple guys asleep, like, and nobody cared. Like, they were like, we don't know you. We don't care. You're just another person coming into the firehouse to push whatever thing you're selling. Like, we just like get out, dude. Like, yeah, we really don't care. And then after a while, instead of standing up at because the common area, the sitting table, typically in the kitchen, everything happens at the sitting table, right? Like all the good conversations, the bad conversations, it all comes back around the kitchen table. So instead of standing up at the table and trying to present and address, and, you know, I just started sitting down and like sitting with them and just talking about whatever they were talking about. And if I had nothing to say, similar to Casa, I would just shut up and listen and just try to learn and pick up knowledge, pick up lingo. Why do they do what they do? How tough is the job? What's trauma like? You know, what's not having sleep for 24 hours, and just listening to their struggles. And then from taking their hardship, building the program. All right, well, this guy's not sleeping, and he has awful nutritional habits. So maybe I can help him a little bit, create better sleep hygiene, have a decent, you know, bedtime routine, and, you know, just find lean proteins for him to eat and have him drink water more than he's drinking, you know, 2-liter Mountain Dews. That's what he needed, right? And so you create that relationship, and that guy starts to say, hey, Connor helped me, or O2X, the whole program helped me do this. And the fire service is a massive rumor mill. So if you're doing a good job, everybody's going to know you're doing a good job. If you do a shit job, same thing's going to happen, right? So that's just it's part of it. So I think instead of initially trying to find ways to reach the entire whole in the beginning, like build your small relationships, like, you know, build your tribe, start with one, build one good relationship, and then 2, and then 3, and then by your first month, if you have 10 good people that you can rely on, you know, you pull from them as much as you can. you gain that knowledge that they want to give you, because a lot of these guys, like I said, love talking about the fire service, and want to get to know you because you're this new shiny thing that, I mean, a lot of guys love ball, like, so you want to talk football with them, you want to talk strength and conditioning, they want to talk too. So you have the opportunity to build that relationship. And, I think common ground is everywhere you look. You just got to be willing to find it. So whether it's football or whether it's music or whether it's the DC or family, just talk to people. And then, like I said, once you slowly build that team, that tribe, and it starts to grow every single week, every single day.
Anybody listening, I hope it's not just me that saw the correlation. That's not just firefighters, that's your athletes, and that's the coaches that you work with. And we've talked about that here on the Cheeky Midweeky, or it's been said inside the membership. Like Joel Reinhardt talked about it in his lacrosse presentation, that he would have lunch with the lacrosse coach. And that's where, just like what you said, sure, they had their periodization meetings and they had their regularly scheduled things to kind of make sure that it was on the books and they did everything they were supposed to do. He's like, but we had our best conversations and we'd edit things the most while eating lunch.
Yeah. And that's a great way to start that relationship, because if you can put yourself in their environment, it also makes you, less aggressive. So, I started day one, like I didn't have an office. I had nowhere to go. So I often ate lunch in my car for the first month. I did a lot of my work just like in the weight room because I didn't know where else to go. And then finally we found there's this in-service training office, and they're the guys that set up a lot of the quarterly and annual drills to identify what the department's not doing well and then create skill drills to then improve that efficiency, or proficiency. And so there was some extra space in there, and I just asked one of the lieutenants, do you mind if I sit down and just, hang out for a bit? Because it was, I think, raining outside, or it was cold. It was like October, November at this point. He's like, no, go ahead. Great guy. He's now one of the chiefs. And that helped me a ton, because every single morning, there'd be 12 to 15 guys who'd come in the in-service training office to get the materials or to get the information for the day, and then start to go out throughout the city and help, again, create these skill drills. And so I got massive amounts of exposure to, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and some chiefs when they walked in. And, here I am, this random guy with zero logo on, like, hey, who's this guy? And I'll talk to a wall. So I'm getting up, talking to guys, and, that right there, every single morning, you got a minimum of 15, sometimes there's two groups, 30 touch points before, 8 a.m. And you see the same guys over and over and over. And luckily, again, such a good spot. These are the men and women who are entrusted with the job of training others. And so they're also educators, they're also coaches. And so, bam, there's your common ground right there. So we got to talk a lot about what it means to develop people and to create programs. And just that alone, even without talking about health and wellness, you start to build that relationship. And, some of those guys like me enough to say, hey, do you want to come with us? Come on. Hop on the wagon, or we're going to grab some other van, like hop in the van. And so truly, if you can create those ends and then create that tribe, they will take you with you, because they want you to be successful, because they will see your value before you do and say, this guy needs to be here. This team needs to be here. They need to say, we need to find a way to collectively create them as we need them to be, because we really had no clue what we were doing. So they see that, and they just wanted to befriend us and help us, because they knew it would ultimately help the department.
Yeah, like that you must have had the most amount of learning right there. Because like you said, you had all your formal learning, but now you're on the road with them, you're doing all these things, and chances are your program was able to take off from there with what you were doing with respect to the physical training.
Yeah, for sure. Because nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. And when you're walking in with, these officers that people respect and they know well, they're way more likely to listen to you. And so when we walk in and we start talking about training, they want to know what they can do at the firehouse. And typically the firehouse gyms don't have a lot of good equipment. It's not sustainable. It's typically
Yeah, you're good.
And so that might happen again, just to forewarn you. But yeah, so that's the first piece. And why can't we? They ask me the questions that they've been asking for years, like why can't we train while we're on shift. I don't know, man. I've only been here for a couple months. Like I don't know. Like I don't set policy. Well, how do we get equipment? I have no idea, man. Like I'm really sorry. Like I'll do my best to help you that. So you start to hear a lot of the frustrations that they have. And so I start to write those down. Like, okay, I've had 12 people say, hey, our equipment sucks. How do we get more? It's like, I don't know right now, but if I have the ability to, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to get you better equipment. Hey, why can't we train while we're on shift? Man, I have no idea, but like, that'd be awesome if we could. And then I start reaching out to other fire departments. Do you guys train while you're on shift? Yeah, we do. How do you do it? Like, who do you go through? And so just taking, again, those hardships and creating solutions to their problems was helpful. And the physical training was a big part of it. So when we get to the academy, everybody's getting smoked every single day, 5 hour, 5 days a week. It's just like, all right, not only are you going to be in full turnout gear, probably on air most of the time, you might go through 1 or 2 cylinders a day. Then you're going to PT after doing everything else, throwing ladders, pulling hose lines, and it was just like, for what? Like, what are we getting out of them other than just the pride of, you're going to keep working because work is everything we need. And, I think at times it wasn't smart training. It was just, again, this is all we've ever done. And the guys that typically had ran training, they had remembered getting smoked. And it's just a long lineage of great history, man. It's like, well, hey, we used to do this every day. You're going to do this every day, and I think that becomes a problem across the nation. And everywhere you look is that, this is the only way we've ever done it. We're not going to change until, you convince us. And these are tough men and women to convince at times, but yeah. So, showing people what we were doing at the academy, I think was a great first step. So we started showing them how we were training the recruits differently. And not a lot, but you had 2 different camps. You had one that said, this is a great idea. I love this. This is awesome. Man, I wish I had this when I was in the academy. Or, man, this is super soft. Wow. Like, wow, we're going to have just, the worst firefighters moving forward now because you're not, crushing them. So when we started talking to them about what we were doing, some of them, those on the other camp that said this is a great idea, wanted to know what we were doing. So then we would get to talk about training, and we would talk about the difference between like an aerobic day and an aerobic day, right? So like running our 300-yard shuttles on Monday versus some of our timed intervals on a Friday, what the difference is and why you do them. And then you start to talk a little bit of training with these guys, and they start going, well, how would you put that into your program today? Because they want to know how to do it. And so then you start to dabble a little bit into, well, what are you doing right now? And they would show you, and it was either good, bad, indifferent. Maybe you could add some, maybe you could tweak it. But once you did that, then you wrote a program for a guy, or maybe you tweaked a program for a guy. And then that's one guy that you have now is like part of your client base, right? And you just kept doing that over and over and over. Or guys, because of where the weight room's located, it's in the middle of everything. So people just walk in and out of the weight room often because of just how the building's set up. So there's a lot of exposure to our recruits. So they would see them moving, and they would see us coaching, and they would see them when they're doing RDLs and push press and different these movements. Like, hey, these guys have pretty good form. Like, how did you get this like bag of socks to do a good RDL? Like, what is this?
Bag of socks.
So, you get. There's one. He knows who he is. I just want to just put that out very clearly. The back, he knows, and he's a great human. But hey, he's still a recruit right now. I'm calling him bag of socks. So they wanted to know how it worked, and I think for the first time in a very long time, they saw proper training, they saw proper movement patterns, and a lot of guys were intrigued, and so they'd come back and ask for programs, or like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you guys doing, why are you front squatting? I've never seen anybody front squat. And walking them through the reasons and our whys, you build more people from the questionable camp to the this is a great idea camp. And so little by little, you're just trying to pull people from the I don't believe in this to the this is a great idea. To be fair though, I think we do a good job of mixing in that old school, rough, tough. We're going to build a little bit of resilience today into our program because part of it is truly trying to make all parties as happy as possible. So if we know we're going to have a tough circuit, we're going to build up to it, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to be loud about it. We're going to put the whistle on. We're going to be a ball coach. Like it's going to be that loud rah rah because you get more eyes on the program, and those that are saying, well, I wish I wish somebody would dig into them a little harder. They get a little bit of that on that hard circuit every third week or whatever. And then it's like, okay, if these guys are training them hard in the weight room, they look better, they move better, everybody's still healthy, we're not losing recruits to injury. But also every once in a while, I do hear, Connor and Josh and Ryan, some of these guys really getting after them outside. That's awesome. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, and then everybody really enjoys that program. So that's a good blend of both.
Dude, I don't know about anybody else listening right now, but I'm like, all right, I need to go be in O2X. I need to go be a strength coach in the like.
Come on, baby.
You got me signed up. Like I'm ready to go, and I had already been, trying to figure that out and hear about it. But one of the things that I heard you keep talking about was headquarters and the different locations, and it kind of made me think about, over in the UK and how they have their academies, like you did say, and it's, hey, here's the head location, and then they have all their other places, and maybe Major League Baseball where they have all their headquarters. What is like, all right, I live in small town Iowa. It's not that small, but for people that live in Richmond and people that live in different spots, like how do they get involved in this? Do they have to go through O2X? Like, what does it look like for anybody that's listening and they're like, all right, Connor, you got me. I got the bug. Like, what does it look like?
Man, that's, I asked myself that same question, last night of, how in the hell did I get here myself? How did this happen? And it was just chance. It was opportunity, right place, right time. And fire service, law enforcement, both, I think, are tough to get into because a lot of them already have their processes in place. They already have a peer fitness trainer or, a guy like your buddy who's a strength coach and a firefighter who's going to run the training program, and you can reach out to them for programming, and they don't care to change because they haven't had something happen yet that is tragic enough to make that change. And it's as sad as that is to say, we unfortunately see that as a catalyst in a lot of these departments. Is like, you need catastrophe to happen before change happens, and it's just part of life. And I wish people were more proactive instead of reactive, but that's not human nature, I don't think, especially in this department. So, I would say if you truly want to get involved, reach out to whoever you have locally in your fire service law enforcement community and just pick their brain and ask to go into their program and see what it looks like. And if you can find a way to make that program better, then go ahead and start having those conversations, or just keep sitting around like Casa and I talked about until your 3 months is up. Then maybe you can raise your hand and say, hey, I think I have a solution to this problem. Maybe I can help you. And then put yourself in that place, because even if you walk in the door day one, again, you're not going to be the savant. You're not going to be the end all be all because they don't care about you. So you still got to build your reputation walking through the door. I think with a lot of the government jobs and a lot of your military roles, there's so many contracting companies from, KBR to LMR to, there's so many, Gap, all these different people. There's so many of those like H2F jobs out there that they're significantly easier to find than anything in the fire service and law enforcement, because I still think it's slowly becoming a brand new thing. It's, not very marketed. I don't think there's a lot of people that do it that aren't, prior or current law enforcement or in the fire service. So it is a very brand new thing, but, obviously you're more than welcome to reach out to O2X, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you, tell you more stories, give you my opinion, help you along the way. And that's how a lot of O2X has been built in the first place, is just, guys reaching out from the network. Hey, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing. What you do looks awesome. How do I get involved? O2X, when like I said, when I first came on in 2020, we had like 4 on-site specialists, and now we have, I think, 46, 47.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's growing at an exponential rate. And it's been fun to see, but again, like there's so many departments that are untapped in this, and I think it's just going to blow up in the next few years. It really is. Like, I think you're going to start to see a lot more of those jobs online, and you're going to find better ways to get in touch with those people. So, man, I don't know. I rambled a lot with that. I don't have a direct answer for that. It's a tough thing to get involved with.
Yeah, no, because I'm looking back at the email that he had sent us originally, and talked that you're the program manager and head of all S&C for Washington, D.C. Fire and Rescue. So I guess let's start there. Like, what does that look like then to be the program? Like, is that essentially, are you the high performance manager? Like, let's just start with there. Like, instead of me hypothesizing, you just go ahead and talk.
Yeah. So, kind of again, the timeline. So I came on as just me first. Strength and conditioning specialist is what the title was. And it was recruit training and then trying to help people with return to work. So when they were beat up and broken, I was trying to get them back to operations. I didn't have a long or much experience at all in return to play from collegiate. And so I knew we needed more help in the door immediately. Like I was already swimming, just trying to reach out and build a program and build a network in DC initially. And so kept talking with O2X and DC Fire, and there was enough money in the budget, very luckily, to hire Ryan Glaze. And Ryan was a strength coach for us for about 3 years and helped me build the program. And he is a phenomenal coach, a great individual. I think one of the sharpest young guys out there. And he's also a local country Virginia kid, and just one of the best, I think, like sponges that I've ever seen. Like he's constantly learning, constantly educating himself, and I saw a massive change in him as well when he first came on about 6 months into the role. So it was just me and him, but I kind of tasked him with running a lot of that return to work initially, and he and I fumbled our way through helping people back here and there. And a lot of it was just regression of movement. And he would say the same thing. It was, we didn't have a lot of equipment. We didn't have a lot of the modalities that you would see in a typical facility. So we knew that the program didn't have to look much different than it already did, but just regress that movement and slowly build it up. So once we created a little bit of that active range of motion, and made that joint or that area move better, create some stability, and then slowly like tag on a little bit of strength. So nobody had a bar on their back a lot of times, but like if we could have somebody assisted or stabilized by a TRX strap because we needed them to squat, great. We did have a leg press and we had a leg curl, leg extension machine. So we were able to still isolate what we needed to just to get some of these people back. But we also, weren't going to fool ourselves and saying, hey, we know how to get people back from start to finish. And so we realized that everybody's broken, everybody has pain, and we have way too many people coming in the door to help us fix them, and this isn't what we do. So we knew we needed somebody that could do orthopedic evaluations and handle that side of the house, and so we went out and found an athletic trainer. And Steve Taylor was the guy that came in, and he was actually at MPD, which is Metropolitan Police Department, right up the hill from us is where their academy is. And he and I often were on some Zoom calls with the police and fire clinic just, to discuss what they do. I kept seeing his face pop up. And again, not knowing how the fire service worked, I just asked him to have a call about, what he does, what are his roles, responsibilities, so I could then take that and create my own Steve at Fire. About an hour into the conversation, he starts going, well, I think I want to do this job. I think I want to leave MPD and come down to the DC Fire. Like, same thing. You got me hooked. Like, you're telling me that I can have full autonomy of a program. I can develop, I can create. Like, I'm not micromanaged by somebody above me. Like, let's do this thing. So Steve was the third guy we hired. And then, again, nutritionally, we needed somebody. So we then got a dietitian. And that was the team after a full year, after a year of kind of meeting Ryan. We had Steve Taylor, who now actually is with an agency. He's going to be a special agent. But then Tiffany Batsakis was our dietitian. And so we had a really good balance of a team. I think that team led to a lot of other blueprints for O2X as well for, hey, this is how it can look in DC. This is what they're doing. They're having a ton of success. Like, we can do this for your department as well in different forms and fashion, right? Like, maybe you don't need a dietitian, but you need a cognitive specialist or somebody that is a mental health practitioner. Maybe that's something you can add. But, I think that blueprint was really cool to see created in that first year. So that was the team initially. And so there was still a lot of me having to do training, running physical training, while simultaneously developing this program and figuring out a vision of where are we going to go? Why are we doing this? What are our quarter and annual goals? How are we going to create these objectives? How are we going to hit them? Who do we need to go through for this? Logistical planning. I mean, it was a lot. Like, and we're also trying to source equipment so that we can actually build a weight room. So I'm going around to different high schools in the area. Hey, do you got anything for me? Do you have anything you can donate, right? And I still coached football at the time. So I coached for 3 years while I was up here. And coached at South County High School in Northern Virginia, and then Gonzaga College High School up in DC. So, I had the ability to talk to those guys, and some really good coaches on both of those staffs, especially Gonzaga. I mean, best coaching staff I've ever worked with. And luckily for me, both high schools were getting brand new weight rooms. And like, we don't know what to do with this equipment. I was like, look, I got 4 buddies, a trailer and a truck that can be here like in 6 hours. Like, we'll pick this stuff up and get rid of it for you right now. And at Gonzaga, that 6 buddies actually was a bus full of recruits and like 2 trailers. And like, we got equipment out like this. I mean, it was like a system, just like going up and down stairwells and stuff. So in our, in our weight room at DC, we have South County High School racks. We have Gonzaga College High School racks. They're all Soaring X, extra dumbbells, plates, bumpers, flooring. We have a reverse hyper somehow. I mean, it's awesome. Like, we were able to build with things that we got sourced. My wife, before she got into franchise sales, was at Orange Theory Fitness, and she called me and said, "Hey, they're getting rid of 9 treadmills down the way. Like, can you go pick them up?" Absolutely. Like, we'll go figure it out. And so that became a lot of how we built our weight room, was just like people getting rid of stuff. They could donate it, or just leave it somewhere if they couldn't donate it. And so we just went and got it, and we just created our program, or our weight room, with like 80% of donated equipment. And then we truly got the ability to train. Like, I mean, when I tell you we were giddy, dude, like we were like, oh my God, we have barbells. Like, we're about to be sweet. Like, I'm telling you right now, we're going to have the best recruits. But we knew, though, which I think is for every part of the program, is like, we knew getting this equipment, though, we were going to have to prove that it did matter. Like, training the right way is with barbells and dumbbells and load, and this is, let me show you why it matters. And so we were on just like a mad dash, Ryan and myself, to then make that like the most justifiable aspect of the program, period. And so we trained the hell out of these recruits, and got a lot of really good results. And we took that data, showed it to the Chiefs. Hey, this is how much better we got in our strength KPIs. We had mile and a half times going down about 58 seconds on average for everybody. Like, we have a test called operational suitability, which is like all these skill drills combined with a cardio component, and they were getting better at that. So they're getting better in every form and fashion. And this is why we need more equipment. Like, this is why it matters, because look what we did before, look what we're doing now. And so then we were able to get a little bit of a budget to get some more equipment, and that also stemmed out into the firehouses. And so we've been able to build 6 weight rooms to date throughout the city, with all Soaring stuff. It's been great. They're super easy to work with. And yeah, it's been a long road to build it, but it all started with just like going to get donated equipment, man, like, and proving that it mattered. And then people bought into it because they didn't realize it did. And now, numbers are slowly but surely like trending in the right direction. I heard yesterday that, which is might be the best KPI that has ever been used in the fire service. So we went to one of the captains on Squad 3 in Anacostia went to the fitting shops, like where they get all their gear, and their uniforms and suits and everything. And he was like, "Hey, really random question, but like, do you have any data on like the shapes and sizes of the pants and the coats that you're putting out?" And she's like, "Actually, yeah, like, it's just all in Excel." And sure enough, like, larges are becoming mediums, double XLs are becoming XLs, and I'm like, dude, like, I mean, causation doesn't equal correlation, but I mean, can you create that? Maybe, but yeah, so it's been cool to see the transition nonetheless. And I think the biggest part is, whatever you do, especially in tactical, you got to be able to justify it, and you have to be able to use that data, create reporting, and show your value every single week. Especially for us, we're on a 12-month contract, so there's no guarantee every year. So you got to work every single day to prove your worth.
That's awesome to hear about all the growth and everything that you did. The only thing I'd say is, it's too bad that they weren't powerlift racks, but I mean, that's just a little battle. I mean, anybody that's listening to us, I have my powerlift hat on too, counterbalance anything
I saw
that he's doing. Yeah. So had to throw that in there. But in all seriousness, like you said, like that, there is a little bit to be said for like, hey, you want to talk about if people notice that they're losing weight, do their pants fit better? Like, so there is a little bit of that, like that, hearing you say that. I train people remotely, and it's like, shoot, I might start to kind of throw that in there at their 3, 6, 9 month evaluation. Like, hey, do your pants fit differently? Does your clothes fit differently? Because some of my clients are like, dude, my shirts fit bigger. Like I feel right. So that's that little bit of qualitative data. But also, gosh, what was I going to say there? I had a really good point that I wanted to talk about with all of that, progress you were making, but I got distracted talking about the pant sizes because I mean, that is a legitimate thing in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it is. And like I said, it just came up yesterday, really random. We were trying to find ways to, again, create more data outside of the academy sessions that we're doing with the recruits. We've had over 400 recruits go through. I think 97 or 98% injury free.
So you
Like,
get like 100 a year.
no, so we actually have four classes running right now. So we have 406, 407, 408, and a cadet class. So there's multiple
Ooh,
classes. Yeah, so we'll have I
sheesh.
think 3 to 4 every year. Yeah, so
What's
yeah,
your attrition rate?
physically or
You're
overall.
like just the people that are like, you know what? Hey,
Yeah,
fire
yeah,
department,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
this was for me, and no, it's not.
So we typically get, let's say, if a class starts with 30, you'll have 23 graduate, 24
Gotcha.
graduate. So whatever that would be, 20 and some change, 20, 30% that you're going to have lose. So, I think with the larger class that we had a class come in of 90 this past year to kind of offset some of the issues they have with staffing. And that class got split into a group of 30 and a group of 60 roughly. And right now they are still, I don't know, maybe group of 30s at 27, group of 60s at 55 or something. So that number I don't think is ever really going to change just based off of the rigors of the job, the academic aspect of the job, people realizing early, this isn't for me. I'm just going to go ahead and leave. But yeah, we have a lot of people walk through that door and a lot less walk out.
Looking to expand your education further, but you don't want to pay the massive fees of going back to school? At Strength Coach Network, we have two long form education courses that both cost less than one course taught to you by an online school. If you click down below to learn more about Fundamentals 1 or Fundamentals 2, you will be able to sign up for our education course that has over 20 hours of educational content brought to you by some of the biggest names in the field: Dr. Brian Mann, Zach Daycant, Jeff Moyer, Terrence Kennel, and many more inside of this course, all for less than the price of one course at a college university. Hawkin Dynamic is the best option if you're trying to get any force plate data or if you're trying to collect any isometric mid-thigh pulls. Not only can you do isometric mid-thigh pulls for the lower body, but I call it an isometric mid-thigh pull for your upper body, where you're able to do an isometric push-up into something where your back is pushing into a bar and your hands are on the force plate. I utilized Hawkins force plates and Hawkins software when I was at Towson. Still utilize it now when I'm at Goldfinch. If you're using the other competitors, I don't know what you're doing. Hawkins customer service is second to none. Hawkins software and their hardware, again, second to none. Check them out in the link down below. Are you or your athletes waking up too hot or too cold in the middle of the night? Or are you looking for a sleep tracker option that doesn't involve wearing a ring or a wrist or a watch, something on your body? Then you need to look no further than the company SleepMe. SleepMe makes chili pads, which keep your bed cold or warm depending on what you want. And they also have a tracker that will go underneath that pad so it will be able to tell how well you slept. When I did a little study on myself with the Aura Ring and with the SleepMe tracker, they were within 97% of each other, and it was actually pretty astonishing how similar the two were. I love my chili pad. It makes me sleep great. I sleep cold. I actually wake up cold now. I haven't woke up warm. And pretty much ever since I've had it, I don't like sleeping on the road because I don't have the ability to use my chili pad. Bunch of former colleagues back at Towson got it. My stepmother got it. Check it out in the link down below.
I thought so. I gathered my thought, and it was about what you said about the contract being 12 months, and it stirred back to a conversation that I had with John Lynch. John and I are on the special interest group for the NSCA with football, and we were talking where one of the members in Strength Coach Network reached out to me to talk about like, hey, is there essentially a way to create a NFLPA for strength coaches, right? Like just understanding like who we are
Mm,
and who has a contract, who's on, an at-will employee. And, hearing you, like when I worked at Iowa, I knew I was on a contract every year, right? Like we weren't Doyle, we weren't the other coaches that had these big deals for 3 years or whatever.
yeah.
But we also knew if we win, we're fine, right? Like just
Mhm.
as long as you, and so it's that incentive, like you said, sure, you don't really know, but you have pride, and anybody that's listening to us for the last 50 minutes, like, know that you care about what you're doing, and people like you're going to be employable. Like, you're going to get hired. Like, so it's better because it gives you that carrot, right? You don't need that stick of like, if you don't do this, you're going to get fired. You're like, nah, bro, like, put that carrot in front of me. Watch me run. Like, watch me do these things. So anybody that's listening and you're like, shit, I'm sick of just getting like threatened about like, ooh, you never know. It's like, bro, you could make it happen. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Was it Brian Shakusky that you had on a while ago? I think he was at I know he was a track
Oh yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So he works at TeamBuildr and he's at Elon right
Yes.
now. Yep.
Yeah, Elon. That's right. The thing I loved about what he said on his show was trying. Like,
Ooh, yeah.
just figure it out. If you fall, so what? Like, if you fail, great, we learned. But what if it doesn't fail? Like, what if it works? Like, I think too often people go, yeah, but what if this doesn't work? Like, yeah, but what if you create a program and you get 4 new team members, right, in DC Fire, and what if you get, like, we've had 610 unique members out of that 2,200 come see us for rehabilitation. Like, what if we get to change that many people's lives in a positive way? Like, I mean, it baffles me that people aren't willing to chase that carrot.
Try.
Like, you might not get it, but like, oh, if you do, that might be the best carrot you've ever had, bud. Like, so I think that's an awesome point, and I'm glad that you made that. And I'm also glad that you guys are really pushing to have that because, I think we often say we're just a bunch of weight guys, and people don't really care about what we do, and they don't see the value a lot of times in the strength coach because all they see is, well, you're just a personal trainer, right? Like, all you do is you just kind of make people better. It's like, strength coaches, I think, are some of the best assets any program can have because you're a coach, you're a leader, you're a mentor, you're the guy that when a recruit or a player is going through something difficult, I guarantee you your door is going to be one of the first places they come knocking on. Like, it is such an invaluable asset, and there needs to be higher wages. I think guys need to be treated better. Like, hey, coaches, stop smoking your assistants. Like, stop like keeping them guarding a desk for 70 hours. Like, what are you doing? So I would be thrilled to see what you guys come up with that, and I think that there's a lot of really good people on that team, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what comes from that.
Yeah, anybody that's listening right now, so we're talking and it's April. Here's like we threw out some ideas. Obviously, I'm not high enough in the NSCA to make any of those changes happen. But John has the ability to pull on some strings, and we're gonna be sending those things. And nothing that we're asking. Like, we worked on a survey together, and it's like, look, we're not asking what salary you make, but I was like, John, the way that I want to do this, I go, it's this. He's like, what's the end goal? I was like, John, the end goal to me is the same way that it is with anytime you have an off-season meeting with your guys. It's to better know who you are working with, so you can better serve them. Like, let's just know. And like, cause he's like, well, what do you think's going to happen from the survey? Do you think more people are going to be contract or at will? I was like, first of all, I bet people have no idea what they're on. Second of all, I think we can then at least start to gain some awareness and help some coaches understand, like, oh, okay, I'm an at-will employee, but based off of how long I've been here, I have 3 to 6, like I have 3 months or I have 6 months of, they put me on notice and now I have this long to go find a new job. Or if I'm on contract and they let me go because there's a new coach, like, I think we just gain awareness. And then now strength coaches have a little bit of like, oh, I feel safe. Like, oh, wow, they're like helping me educate myself on this stuff. And so that's where we're going with it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm excited to hear that, man. I really am.
You talked about, the return to play, and you said like kind of, or not return to play, but it's return to train and some of the training. Do you guys have like different tiered programs? Again, like, oh, this guy's been with me for 4 years. He understands it. Or are firefighters getting transferred out to different places, either A, because they got better, B, the chief tells them to? Like, how does that look?
So it's because the chief tells them. Yeah, like,
Really?
you have, yeah. So let's see. You mean with the members that are coming back, you're saying?
Yeah, like any of your
being injured?
active firefighters. So they recruited and they're in your firehouse. And then it's
Yeah.
like, do you get to then have, like, is there a chance that you could have somebody in your firehouse for 20 years until they retire?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's guys that stay exactly where they've been appointed. So when you come out of the recruit academy, you are appointed to, engine 10, truck 13, or one or the other, right? You either go to the engine side or you go to the truck side.
What's the
And
difference for anybody that's listening? Like, why does it
yeah,
matter?
It just depends on, like, sometimes it's the skill set. So an engine is the one that's going to be putting the fire out. They're the ones that have the water. So you're extending lines, you're running lines, you are the one on the nozzle, you are going into the house and you are putting the fire out. Guys on the truck, it's kind of like a toolbox on wheels. So they show up, they're the ones that are, beating down the doors, they're forcing the doors, they're cutting holes in the roof so that you can ventilate the smoke out. They're busting windows. So for the same thing, ventilation, hot smoke gets out, cools the room down so you don't have like a flashover situation where the whole room can just become combustible. And then you have people who search. So like a lot of the rescue squads, when they show up, their job is to oftentimes do searches, or, for us, we have 3 different units and they specialize in, high angle, trench rescue, and then, water, right? So we do have a unit that's on the boats, and we have an underwater search and dive team. So you can kind of go into a lane of your own, if you will, or whatever lane you're interested in, like after you've been appointed. So it's kind of a crapshoot coming out of the academy. Like, you might be the 6'2", 230-pound brute who should be on a truck, right? And you're like, yeah, I want that guy to bust open a door and to like smash windows and throw ladders and do those things. But then that guy gets put on an engine for, just staffing reasons and, something random. But you hope to have people who can do the job as it's demanded based off of whatever apparatus they're on. And that's what the whole department hopes, because typically as an officer, if you're on a busy truck company that's going to be throwing heavy 24 or 24-foot ladders, 35-foot ladders, like, these things are heavy. You got to carry them by yourself. Typically, sometimes you're supposed to carry them with 2 people, but like when things are, popping off in the fireground, you're grabbing saws and heavy box fans and these ladders, and you're throwing them, you're forcing doors. It's like very, very rigorous work, and it definitely can be taxing. So you want somebody that can do everything that they're needed. But if you get, a lighter individual that's not, super strong, they're more built to climb 10 flights of steps with a rack on their back. Maybe you get frustrated as an officer, and then you have to do a significant amount of training to get that person up to speed so they can work on a truck. So you can have a lot of that frustration as an officer. But I think guys know where they want to be. And often, let's say after the first few years, once you get off of probation, which is kind of like the first 8 to 9 months of the recruit academy, if you pass all your tests, once you're in a house for a couple of years, you can put a form in to then transfer over to a house that you want to be in. But again, there has to be a vacancy. And just like anything else, those guys probably have to like you a little bit for them to open their doors and have you in. So a lot of times, especially now in the city with the amount of vacancies that we have, and there's a lot of overtime opportunities, and guys are clawing at doors of these, historic and rich traditioned houses that they want to go to, because they know every day is a job interview. And so if they go over there for 24 hours and work their butts off and show worth and build relationships, then when that opening does come up and they put their form in, then the captain who's on that shift and is responsible for the house can say, yep, I know this guy. He's awesome. He's worked here. This is exactly what we want. And then, the 2 parties kind of have that good match. So yeah, you can switch over if you want to. And then with the squads that I was talking about, you can obviously become, that guy who dives into the special operations unit to the fire service and, learn a lot of these additional skills and, become true practitioners with a lot of the cool equipment and the cool technology that they get to work with. And those guys, it's a different test. They have to take a 90-day test. And again, show proficiency and a high level of work. Because like I said, like high angle rescue, like there's a lot of knots, there's a lot of physics involved with that, like figuring out how much weight is needed to do, to raise this person, to have 2 other firefighters on the end of this rope, to then move them. How long is it going to take for them to go 1-story to 2-story based off of how many, different vectors do you have? And you can't mess that up hanging off the side of a building. Like, that's not something, that's not something that you get to do. Nope. Same thing with trench rescue. Like, there's a lot of math and physics, there's a lot of different things that are going on. And you're also trying to make sure people are safe at the same time. And I'm sure there are people that are haggling you. There's crowds around you while these things are happening. So there's just so much stress that goes on. So the guys, I think, that go to the rescue squads, you definitely have to be a different kind of animal. And you should be a practitioner and somebody that constantly works on their craft, because it's going to matter when you need it.
anybody that's been listening, again, I've said this on every single one of the tactical presentations and cheeky midweekies we've had. If you're the strength coach that's going over there because you're like, oh, I just want to not work 40, I want to work 40 hours and just retire, like, you're not a good strength coach. And to me, you're like, if you want to be a firefighter, an electrician, anything, if you're going to be good at it, it requires you to spend time. So yes, you can have a work-life balance integration, but you should still be practicing and learning ways to be better at your craft, because you hear what he just said about the people that you're serving. Like, just, I don't know. Anybody that's hearing it, don't just think that you're going on vacation to go be a strength coach in the tactical world. You can learn about it and learn how awesome it is, but don't be one of those slaps.
Yeah, not at all. Don't be, yeah, absolutely. Great shot there. Don't ever be a slap. Don't be a dickhead.
No.
I think that matters a lot. And when you see these men and women work, and if we're lucky enough to be at a house and then around the corner there's a fire and we get to kind of sit on the corner and watch them actually work, which is kind of rare. It has to be hit or miss. You have to be, again, right place, right time, or jump on the buggy or the wagon with somebody and see it firsthand. It's fast. There's a lot going on. There's high levels of stress. You're constantly put in weird positions. Your body's in compromised states often. So, you're never really on stable ground ever. So you're having to do a lot with very little time, and there's just so much happening. And so when we have the ability to get somebody, return to work faster than normal, and they're grateful for the quality of care that we provide them, we're building that relationship. We're getting them stronger, not only for their job, but also for their family, for their home life. Like, one of our favorite stories among a lot of the people that we've had to return to work is we had this just brute of a guy. He's very well known in the department. Just kind of like a bulldog, human, kind of gruff, abrasive. Like, you really got to build that relationship to get in. And he's always had a bad shoulder, and he's a guy that we have to constantly be like, hey, we know you can hit 405. We just need you to hit 375. Don't hit the smelling salts again and just like smack 3 again. Like, we need you to just, and you constantly have to kind of like rein him in a bit. But, he had a really bad shoulder, and it was bothering him a ton. And he's a guy, like very, very many on the job, that they're going to be beat up and broken and they're going to hurt, but they're going to do the job because it matters to them. And so, they're working with, torn ligaments, and they're working with like really bad, like a lot of bad meniscus, low backs, shoulders is what we often see, like knees, low backs, and shoulders is the common area.
Yep.
And so we put a 6-month program together when he was on light duty, and he was still working at the academy, kind of in his like light duty assignment. And we got a shoulder to a place that he could throw baseball again with his son, and he hadn't been able to do it in years. And so, I could sit here and talk about a guy who's a fireman's fireman, and people look up to him, and awesome, all this fun stuff. But what mattered most to him, to this like really rough guy, was just being able to throw a ball with his son again in the backyard. And so, that hit home with me, just because he sent us a picture and a long thank you text message, and you would assume that it would have been him, hanging from some building with one arm and, doing some other stuff. But the thing that mattered had nothing to do with the fire department, but that was what we were focusing on. So there's been a lot of those. We had a guy that had ulnar nerve entrapment. And he was a musician, couldn't play the piano for years, was about to get retired. They had just kind of like ridden him off and said, we'll just go to O2X, see if they can fix you, in the very beginning stages of us. And we actually were able to get him back healthy and created enough grip strength that he could pass his tests. So he kept his job, got to play piano again. So it's, stories like that, we can go on and on about, but trying to get people back to work is one thing. Trying to get people back so that they can have quality of life outside of work, I think, is the best thing. And so, again, once you create these relationships, you want these people to get back to work. And so, yeah, don't be a slap. Like, work your ass off so that these people can get back home to their family safely, number one, from the job, but two, so they can enjoy it and they can move well and they can walk with their sons and daughters when they haven't been able to in years. So yeah, like, find your passion and dive head first into it.
Yeah, I got goosebumps, hair standing up. That to me is a mic drop moment, what you just said. Is there anything that you were like, I wish we would have talked about during this conversation to let everybody else hear? But otherwise, I want to let you go. We've been chatting for over an hour.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably just teams, man. We've done a great job of hiring people From an O2X standpoint, I think that's the best thing O2X does is hire good people. The network that I have through them has been literally life changing for me. Like I got some of the best coaches, great friends, that we spend time with, every year, every month with each other. And, they've been some of the best leaders to me, some of the best mentors, best brothers. And that's been awesome for me. But then working alongside those people as well has been, great. I think that for me as a program manager, enabling my team to do their job and just, again, not micromanage them. I'm not trying to put them in a corner and stifle their ideas. Like I want to pull every ounce of creativity and innovation out of these people because, their track records are awesome. I have a brand new athletic trainer, a brand new team, brand new athletic trainer that was at DCI and DC and Georgetown and Syracuse and University of Pitt. And he's a wizard when it comes to, technology and data. He does a phenomenal job. Bless you. He does a phenomenal job, finding ways to manipulate even simple things, Excel, Google Sheets, like finding ways for us to present our data in a better way, in a faster way. And he is just a great practitioner, great bedside manner. And I can say the same thing about Paige Seidler, who replaced Steve, that I talked about a little bit. She comes from a long list of different places, from collegiate to internship with the Panthers to tactical before here. And so she's taken all those ideas of what's worked, what hasn't worked, and is now really dumping them into DC Fire because it's the first place that she had the ability to just like, you're telling me that I can do whatever I want. I can create programs. This is awesome. And so, all these new ideas and these great thoughts are coming up. And same thing with Josh Davis, who's, our new strength coach. He was with the Chinese Olympic team for a little bit. He's a rugby guy at heart, was in professional rugby. And, he worked remote for a very long time and hadn't had the ability to coach on the floor in like some years. And I think part of that was COVID. And since he's been back, he's just so amped up to coach in a weight room. And that's his sole job right now is recruiting cadet training. And I mean, he goes, like every single day. He shows up almost before I do every day. Like, and I pride myself in showing up first and being last. Like I'm that guy. Like I'm going to compete with you in the morning to be there first. And he's always there early. He's prepared. He's ready. He's sharp. And I think that team as a whole is making the program significantly better. And that's not a shot at any of the other teammates I've had. I mean, like I said, Ryan Glaze and Steve Taylor, those guys really set the bar and they created the program for what it is today. But I think that once you have a good team, you enable them. And if you've been, in a place like I have for 4 years, you also can't become stagnant. You got to find a way to continue to create different lanes. And you have to kind of change the game with what you're doing and consistently get better, have the same direction, but a different path to get there based off of where you've been and the roadblocks that you've had. Because we've had a lot, it's a diverse environment. There's a lot of changes every single week and day just based off of like the political environment that we're into with budget and money and who gets what and when. So, man, enable your team, foster a great creative environment, love them up, buy them some coffee here and there, and make sure that you're getting the best out of everybody so that the department can grow in the right way.
Where do you see this fire tactical, your own career going in the next 1, 3, 5 years? Like, what's the forecast look like?
For me personally, I have no idea. I'm truly Justin, I'm telling you, man, I'm figuring that out right now. I want to keep growing with DC Fire for sure. Cause I've just developed this love and passion for him, man. Like I'm a sucker for a good logo, and, whatever logo I have is mine. I have pride in it. I take ownership in it. Sorry, O2X, I probably wear DC Fire stuff more than anything else, just because I love these. I really do, man. Like they've brought me in, I've been to 4th of July parties. I've been to Christmas parties in their homes and vacations and everything with these men and women. Like I'm truly part of the community. And I love it. But, also you just never know. I mean, tactical is growing in so many different spaces and, there's opportunities everywhere, and I definitely want to continue growing the program, and I'm hopeful that we can. I'm hoping that in the next 2 years, we double the team, if not triple it. right now we have a contract kind of in queue awaiting. So I don't know when this is going to come out, but hopefully it's happened by then. But there, there's a chance we'll get 12 people as a team with DC Fire, because that'd be, I mean, massive, and that would allow us to have specialists for each battalion. We'd have specialists just for the academy, and I think we would be able to write a lot or rewrite a lot more policy than we already have. We've been able to change a lot with the Health and Wellness Division, create a partnership with the Police and Fire Clinic, the National Rehab Hospital, and so if we can get 8 more people, I mean, it'll be awesome. We're gonna be doing a lot for it. So we're gonna do everything we can to get that done. So I'm really hoping this comes out and it's like, hey, remember that thing we talked about? Yeah, so take a look. Yeah. So we'll see, man. The industry's growing at a rapid rate. I think too fast for some, and I can't wait to see where it is in the next 1 to 3 to 5 years.
There's got to be something about the DC area, because when I asked Jessica Burke, she used to work in college athletics and now she works in the private sector, and I was like, yeah, so like, what's the plan? She's like, whew, wow, what a great question that I should have asked myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love DC. I'd like to live a little bit further away out of it, but yeah, traffic's not fun. I love the cherry blossoms and some of the sports, Caps games, absolutely. And there's no end to good food in DC.
No, and the Nats Stadium is gorgeous, like you said. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Nat. I mean, that's one of the. I've been to a few ballparks in the nation, and it's just a cool one, just because the setting where it's at. Yeah, it's a good one, man. I really do enjoy it.
If you ever have the ability, go to the Pirates, like that place. Yeah, dude, it's gorgeous. It's right in the middle of this. Like it's so gorgeous. I went there. It was about 2 years ago now. For when Jay had CVASP in Pittsburgh, and we went with. Actually, Jeff Moyer didn't go, but it was me and Brajesh, and like there was a group of us, and it just right there. It's a gorgeous backdrop. Like if you ever have an opportunity, go.
I got to see the outside of it. I was on the bridge. I guess you can see maybe left field. And I was waiting for a bus, like 2 a.m. This is a completely different story. And so I just got to see the stadium for a bit, and it looks like a great spot right on the river. Yes. Like I feel like that'd be an awesome place to see a game. But yeah, I'll take you up on that one. I'll definitely have to see that, check that out. So
yeah, Jeff, if you're listening, I already told my wife that we're going with the kids to go visit you, and definitely have to go to a game, because there's a hotel right there, like walking distance. It's pretty ideal.
Nice. I do have to share as well. So my brother, I was looking up where Bridgewater State was, because I had no idea what that was, man.
Oh yeah,
100% honest. And so my brother, you'll appreciate this, went from Hawaii. He was stationed in Oahu for a bit, and went from 4 years of Hawaii living, beautiful summers, cool winters. And then he moved, him and his wife, moved straight to Mashpee, Massachusetts, and he worked for Cape Cod Potato Chips.
That's where my dad is. I have a Mashpee address, brother.
Dude, so I figured, I didn't know if you were, had been there or just went to play ball there, but
no,
but
like
yeah,
Cape Cod, graduated Falmouth High School. Dad lives in Mashpee. Mom lives in Sandwich, because mom used to live in Falmouth.
Oh man, dude, small world. Yeah. So imagine going from Hawaii to winters in Mashpee. Yeah, that was quite a shock. Yeah.
Especially because in Massachusetts, everybody's in a hurry just to do nothing. And in Hawaii, like, because I had Kyle Hashimoto, one of my assistants, and I know he's listening right now. Shout out to you, Moto. He's from Hawaii, and he was my balance, because I was the Massachusetts psychopath of like, and he's like, dude, just chill, we're good.
Chill out. Yeah, chill out, man. Yeah. So it was a heck of an adjustment for him, but no, that's wild. Yeah, small world.
So you said that's your brother?
Yeah.
Did he call flip flops? Did he call them slides?
Oh no. Okay. If he did,
apparently that's a thing.
So if he did, he stole the culture. I'll be honest. He didn't. No, that wasn't a thing. I don't think he's not a guy that's gonna try to be something. Like he's not coming over to Mashpee and like throwing shakas everywhere, man. Like he's better than that. But he did often get off the flight. Like he would come back for Thanksgiving and stuff, and it's 40 degrees or whatever in Virginia, and he's getting off the plane and like Billabong surf shorts and flip flops. I'm like, dude, like you don't live this life. Like you're coming back. You're a smart guy. Like don't stop doing this to yourself.
If you ever have a chance and you're visiting your brother, russet potato chips. They're the best ones. The dark russets.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Yeah,
Cape
yeah.
Cod potato chips are fantastic, but the russet ones are essentially burnt versions of the regular ones. They're my favorite. I don't know if you're gonna like them or not. And if you're ever up there, you got to eat at the 99. It's a better. To me, it's better than TGI Fridays. And get the Gold Fever wings. Anybody that's
Okay.
listening up in Massachusetts, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Speaking of wings, what's your best wing recommendation around Towson?
Ooh, there was a place that was more local. Okay, now I got to put my brain on as if I'm living back. The CVP. If you go into downtown Towson, yeah, the Charles Village Pub, that's probably one of them. Or Nacho Mamas. They're on the same strip.
Okay, I gotta check. I love wings, man, and I'm trying to, and I'll go up there occasionally. Like I got a buddy that I used to coach, and he now is. I guess he just went from Towson to Fairmont State,
Okay.
but he was at Towson for a little bit, and I was asking him the same thing. Like, hey, what are some good wing recommendations? Like, it's not that far of a drive, and
No, CVP.
I'll check it out. Yes,
Yeah,
CVP.
that's a good little hole in the bar, hole in the wall, restaurant bar that the coaches would go to after games because the players would never go.
Nice. No, that's good. Safe spot.
Appreciate you, brother. This has been a blast getting to chat with you. Anybody else, like if they want to follow you, do you have anything on social that they can follow you on, or you know what, just enjoy the show?
Yeah, just enjoy the show, man. I'm not much of a social media guy. Feel free to follow O2X on Instagram, and we have our O2X DC Fire O2X page as well on Instagram. But man, not me. I'm not that guy, man. I'm not a social media guy. Yeah.
All good, brother. Appreciate you connecting. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, Justin. See you, man.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.